Hello and welcome to pmclounge.com. This video we are talking about the basics of schedule management. What all should you know before you begin your study of schedule management, the PMP's project schedule management, right? So everything that you should know before you can get started and get into the thick of the things of schedule management, you should definitely watch this video. This is a primer of sorts. This covers all the basics and this will give you a good overview before you can get started. All right, so let's start with the first slide and talk about the basics of schedule management. So in the pre-PMBOK guide version 6 world, right? So there was a world before PMBOK version 6, right? That was the PMBOK version 5 world. Schedule management was known as time management. So it was only in PMBOK 6 that time management was renamed and rebranded as schedule management. Probably someone got to know came into their senses and thought that time cannot be managed. It is only schedule that can be managed. All right, so time management was the previous name of schedule management. This has been renamed as schedule management. Now, managing schedules and meeting deadlines is what most people think of when they think about the role of a project manager. So if you introduce yourself to someone and tell them that you are a project manager, their initial impression of you would be that you manage schedules probably in an Excel file or in some Gantt chart, and you make sure that the project team meets those, all the deadlines that you have basically come up with, right? So that is what a lot of people think. However, it should be noted that the project manager role is goes way beyond than schedule management. Mere meeting deadlines is not what project managers do. They do a hell of a lot of other things. So, schedule management, meeting those deadlines is just part of it. In fact, even within schedule management, you are going to realize in our later videos of schedule management that schedule management itself is much more than just meeting deadlines, right? So that is what you're going to learn in our future videos on schedule management, in our other videos where we talk in detail about schedule management, its processes, its tools and techniques, and all other good concepts related to schedule management. All right, so let's take a look at the processes of schedule management knowledge area. Now, some people pronounce it as schedule, some people pronounce it as schedule. Schedule is more of an American pronunciation. Schedule is more of an Indian pronunciation. Sometimes I tend to pronounce schedule, sometimes I tend to pronounce schedule. So kindly bear with me, it's one and the same thing. So we have 5 processes in the schedule management knowledge area. You've got no processes in initiating process group, no processes in executing, and no processes in closing process group. So we have 6 processes in total. 5 of them belong to planning process group and one of them in the monitoring and controlling process group. You've got plan, schedule management, define activities, sequence activities, estimate activity durations. There used to be estimate activity resources as well, but that is not part of schedule management knowledge area starting PMBOK 6. And then we have develop schedule. And finally, the last process in monitoring and controlling process group is control schedule. So these are the 6 processes and we will take a quick look at all 6 of them so that you have a fair idea of what these processes do before you can start off with your study of this knowledge area. So let's start with the plan schedule management process. This provides guidance throughout the schedule management knowledge area. All the processes of the schedule management knowledge area. They are guided by what goes in as part of the plan schedule management. And it is true for every other process in the planning process group, right? The first process in the planning process group is typically guidance only. This is where you come up with the processes to guide the rest of the processes in a particular knowledge area. So this is where you define all the processes you will use to plan and control the project schedule. So as a project manager in the plan schedule management process, you basically define all the processes that you are going to plan and control the project schedule. It's similar to the scope management knowledge area as well. The plan scope management process, that is where you define all the processes you would use to plan and control the project scope, right? The next process in the schedule management knowledge area is define activities. This is where the work packages are broken down into activities. Do you recall work packages from our discussion on WBS? If not, I'll share a link in the description below, the entire playlist of WBS. Go there, learn a thing or two more about WBS, understand what work packages really are, and then come back here and you will be able to understand this in a much better fashion when we say the define activities process. This is where those work packages are broken down further into activities. So this is how define activities process work, and you need to understand that these activities are later used for estimating, scheduling, network diagrams, and other fancy stuff. So if you're preparing for PMP, you must have already heard about network diagrams, by the way. If you speak to someone who is already a PMP certified or who's also preparing for PMP, they will definitely drop in a sentence or two about network diagrams. They are that popular, right? So activities is what is used when it comes to network diagrams, and these activities are nothing but further broken down pieces of work packages. The next process is sequence activities. So once you have defined the activities, you have those activities. Now, in the process of sequence activities is where you place those activities in a logical order, right? So this is where the network diagram is created and half the battle is won. Okay, so you create a network diagram in the sequence activities process because you are putting all the activities in a logical order. Moving on, remember we are yet to come up with the time it will take to complete the project. So do you see how we've covered a few activities of the schedule management knowledge area already, but we are yet to come up with the schedule. We are yet to give out a timeline of how much time the project will take. So in comes the estimate activity durations process, and this is where you estimate the time it will take to complete each activity. Remember, we are not talking about the time it will take to complete the entire project as a whole or just one phase of the project. We are talking in terms of activities here. This is how estimation is done on real life projects. All right, so next up, when you're making use of all the outputs of the previous processes that we just talked about, like the durations, the resources it will take, you create a schedule in the develop schedule process. So the next process is the develop schedule process, and this is where you make use of the outputs of the previous processes and create a schedule, a project schedule. Finally, the last one is control schedule. The control schedule process is just like our control scope process, which we have discussed in the past. It is a process designed to monitor and control the project schedule. Monitor and control is where you make sure that if there are any changes, they go through change management. You make sure that the schedule is kept up to date at all times. Nothing is lagging behind. Nothing is, if there is any corrective or preventive action needs to take place, you make sure that they take place and the schedule is up to date, the schedule is current, and that is how you control your project schedule. So that is all that we had in this video. Subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon if you haven't done so already. Hit the like button if you enjoyed the video, learned something new about schedule management, and check us out on our social media. PMC Lounge is our handle on YouTube, Facebook, as well as Twitter. And if you're into reading, if you want to read articles rather than watch videos, you can always head over to pmclounge.com, which is your number one free resource for PMP and other project management certifications, as well as project management industry information. Thank you.